me through news, media, my own reading, the invasion of Tibet, blah, 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 blah. And you know, it's weird how your conception seeps into everything. And all of a sudden, all of China's evil, you know, or all of China's not us, so they can't be good, you know, or whatever the stupidity is, you know. And so my mind, I didn't know it had those things until I went there, and there are trees in China, and there is houses in China, and there are roads in China, and you know, like, no, but seriously, you know. And then my mind's like, where is the evil? You know, is it under the tree or under the? It's stupid. Our minds create a weird idea of something that you don't know about. And I'm a Buddhist teacher. I've been studying since 20 years. I'm very conscious about what gets into my mind. I've got powers against stupidity. That's so stupid. I didn't. You know, and it wasn't, and I left China that first time where everything was just stunning. The human beings in there moved me to tears. The adults and the children, the way they cared for each other, the way they thought of themselves and how kind they thought of the world, moved me to tears. The things that I called, what did I call that? Censorship, you know, no Google, no YouTube, no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter. I'm like, these people are evil. Like the people that don't have that, they don't know they don't have that, number one, right? So they just don't know the stuff that comes through those mediums, which is bad in my mind, right? They don't know about the world. Stupid. And then I see the reality of that. And of course they have search engines. It's just not Google. So the messages that come in aren't Googleized, you know, and they have videos. They actually have videos in China. Videos on the internet. It's just not YouTubeized. Yeah, and it was hard for me to not think of those iconic things as reality, and that's the correct reality, and everything else is weird or strange or not right. And then I saw the effects of what I called censorship, which wasn't really, or we see it as that, as innocence. Imagine no pornography. Okay, imagine, just imagine for a second, no pornography. You've never seen pornography. You've never been sarcastic or abusive or gone on YouTube saying F you to every F you effing F'ers. You've never seen that. There's no culture for that. Admittedly, the downside of that is that there aren't any good memes, okay? Because memes is sort of founded on sarcasm and yeah, so that's the downside. There's no memes. The big one. That's a big one. But then there's an innocence and a kindness and a genuine discovery of the world and a love towards each other. Mr. Wu was trying to say about community that I'd forgotten existed, and it stopped for me at the age of 12. At the age of 12, I was a year and a half, 2 years into moving and living in Australia from Argentina. And it really felt like losing the innocence of your virginity, but psychologically, yeah? Where you lose the innocence and wonder and kindness and love and vulnerability in the world. And I don't have that anymore. I can be sarcastic about everything. Imagine not having that through the ages of 12 and 15 and 20 and 25 and still seeing the world as pure. And so the first trip I came back and I'm like, no, something's wrong. They must be all screwed up. I just didn't see it. So the second trip that same year, still didn't see it. And so my misconception got chopped up, the third visit, the fourth visit. And now I go there and my mind enters a different mode. When I show, like we do talks about seeds, you know, about the Dharmakaya Sutra and philosophy, and we do talks about relationships. How do you have relationships with each other? All sorts of kinds of relationships. We teach the kids from 5 to 25, right? So we teach, I usually teach the 18s to 25. So we teach them about relationships. I can be a little risque. So I show pictures of people kissing, romantic relationship, and there's a boy girl going like this. And the 20-year-olds are going, oh my God. Like they're embarrassed because they haven't done that yet. And I'm not lying to you. It's a real thing. There's an innocence and a wonder. And so then I began to talk to some of the kids that grew up there that I taught at the BGM program and came over here and had come to university in New York or Los Angeles or whatever. And then I understand why they don't go and hang out with everybody at the bar. And they think we're weird. They think we're bizarre. Yeah? And so I got to see a side of China over for 3.5 years now that I didn't know existed. And like that, there are parts of the world that I don't know exist. And it opened up my mind to the forceful limits we create through just letting stuff come in to our perception. So who's Dr. Wu? Who's Eric Wu? I have no idea. Yeah, I met this gentleman because I was doing the children's program and I was invited to go and teach on the Wheel of Life. And so I'm teaching 350 kids, dependent origination, meditate. They sit for meditation for 3 hours. 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 3 hours. I'm teaching them. I'm like, they're like, and I'm like, don't move the knee because they'll hear it. I'm not kidding. I busted my knee doing that, pretending I knew how to meditate. Pretending.
Was it a religious school? Or
no, they don't teach religion. There's no religion in China. So we teach the Diamond Cutter Sutra, we teach Mind Only, we teach Mahayana, we teach
everyone meditating.
No, not everyone. These people, the children, are children of students of Mr. Wu. So Dr. Wu teaches, he's like the Anthony Robbins of China. So he travels around China. Sorry for referencing Tony Robbins. Yeah, sorry for referencing him, right? But you get the idea. He flies around and talks to thousands of people that study mostly Mahayana through the mind-only school perspective. So that's why he talked about the Alala Vijnana, yeah? He talked about the place where your mental seeds go, the eighth consciousness, which...
Where's Javier? So where Javier?
Oh, yeah, because you're Dunchi and you're Kunchi, yeah. So Dr. Wu travels around teaching in China philosophies from China, Chinese Buddhism, to people that haven't had a chance to study that for 50 years because religion is banned and there was this relaxation over the last couple of years. He also knows Chinese medicine. He reads people's faces, he does people's pulse. So I'll give you a story. First year I went to meditate, I'm teaching the 300 kids, I'm sitting there meditating, and then he just gets up. And in one hand, he's got a bunch of acupuncture needles, and he just doesn't ask permission. He's like, oh, boom. And I'm looking at my friends going, what the hell? And there's all these kids with stuff. Nobody moved, everyone's fine, and we're freaking out. Listeners are freaking out. And then meditation finished, so he's like pulling him out. So he knows acupuncture. He's an incredible human being. His birthday is exactly the same as Geshe Michael Roach's. So that when they met, it's like, what?
What?
He's been secretly studying and obsessed with Tsongkhapa, Jade Tsongkhapa, who's like Geshe Michael's obsession. So when they met, they never stopped talking. And so that's why they published that book as an opportunity to use the diamond cutter system of things don't have a nature, they are empty, and they arise in dependence to your mental projections, which are there because of what you do, your impressions. So that book is subversively that, so it can be published in China. Yeah, it's a stunning human being. So then they've been helping each other. Geshe Michael has been teaching Dr. Wu when his Tibetan teacher passed away. So Mr. Wu is probably, Dr. Wu now, he's probably the leading student in China of Geshe Michael. And he just travels China teaching the seed system. He's like obsessed with the power of seeds, mental seeds. So I don't know if that describes who he is or any questions. And it's another world over there, as you could see. And we got a little taste of that world. Now, when I met him, I told him that we just about to get evicted of our old place. You know, we're paying $3 grand a month or something. and it was about to go to 6 and then 9. Now we're like 10.5 grand a month plus expenses or something. And he's like, let me write you a check. You guys can relocate the 3 jewels, you can renovate it. And that sustained us for a really hard time that I really thought sometimes that we're gonna have to shut this place down. And the thought of that just broke my heart, because I know the power of the stuff that gets taught here. And beyond that, the power of you, the community of people that connect around an idea and then try to make that idea into a personal practice. And the thought of me having to say, sorry, we're shut down, is probably one of the hardest things I've had to think about on a regular basis. So I kept my mouth shut, not to scare you all. But if it wasn't for Dr. Wu, that would have been a reality for us. And now we not only have moved, and we have bandwidth to help us see if we can become self-sufficient at 3+ times the rent in a beautiful location in a pretty sexy part of Manhattan with really awesome human beings, and a revival of an old dingy 90s style place on the 3rd floor, which served its purpose, and it was beautiful. And I grew up 3 Jewels wise over there. But this place is magic, so much of it thanks to him. And obviously the dedication of all the volunteers, the people like Rachel and Stephen and Alison, all you old students, Sarah, you all know who you are, Jacqueline, Supriya, who run all the programs for 3 Jewels for free, voluntarily, yeah? But to have been that close to closing the place down, and then this dude who's got the same birthday as my teacher, who's got an obsession with Tsongkhapa, who's subversively teaching Buddhism in China, you know, says, yeah, let me write you a check, no problem. And he sustained us really for this period, and is hoping that we can become self-sufficient. That I believe he's got our back, and I wanted so much for him to just be in the space and see what he helped create. Yeah. So that's what today was for me. That's why it felt a little weird. Because how do you thank someone for permitting a philosophy and an idea in your mind to continue, and to watch yourself continue a life-saving idea in the minds of thousands that will walk through this place? How do you thank someone for that? What do you do? Give them some stupid flowers and a crystal. You know, like that doesn't do it. Hopefully he felt the gratitude for us having the opportunity to keep teaching these things. I mean, last year alone, 3 Jewels had 10,000 visits. 10,000 visits of people that have come here because they want to get their life together, or their lives are a little broken and they want to fix it up, or their lives are really shit and they really want to fix it. And people walk in here in the hope that they can get some refuge, some power, and they find it here with certainty. If you get to the philosophy that we cover at these classes, you understand it. If you put that into practice on the cushion, you feel it and know it. And if you do it through the asana practice and the other limbs of yoga, you are inseparable from these philosophies. But you have to put your body and your mind through the paces, and then it's yours. Like no one's coming to save you except you. But this teaches you how. Yeah. And what dollar figure do you put on that to keep that going? You know, for me, it is all there is. And that man and his wife, who is always shy in the background, gave us this place.
Is that the woman who has the money?
Yeah, she actually probably is. So I have less than an hour. I hope that clarified the power of what went down today. In a way, it's saying thank you to our teachers for appearing in miraculous ways just at the moments where your hardest lessons come, where you struggle the most. If you have the seeds, if you have the karma, things pop up and the pain can become a lesson. Yeah. And I think that's Mr. Wood for us, or for me. And I hope that becomes So we usually do a little get together, get to know each other, review last class. We're not going to do that. We're going to do a double one of that next week, where you're going to, for half an hour, sit down and review Vinaya, right? The entire third of the Buddhist system of ethics and why that works. You're going to review that next week. But tonight I'm going to brain dump some core ideas from this part of the Buddhist teaching, which links ethical behavior, what you do, think, and say. Yeah, it links that to enlightenment. And we're going to get to touch and see what that is at a surface level. I'm going to give you lists and something and what they mean, and then I'm going to cover 2 topics in more detail. I'm going to look at problems that arise for us and what actions of body, speech, and mind Lord Buddha said, and all the sages and sagesses. Is that a thing? Sagesses? No.
I think it's just sages.
I don't want it to be just sages.
Women saints.
Women
saints.
Women saints, dakas and dakinis.
Right.
Yeah. Throughout the ages, sages throughout the ages have said are the correlations, and this is the crux. Once you understand the fact of emptiness, and then you understand what karma really is, then you'd get interested in, okay, what are my behaviors for me to transform a world that doesn't have a nature, that seems good some days and then broken others? What are the things that I need to do to cause the projection of that world to be a blissful world, a nirvana, or an enlightened view, or a Buddhahood? Yes? So you get really interested. Once you go, okay, I've got it. I've got to meditate so I can focus my mind. Okay, I've got to think of the ultimate nature of all things, which is nothing has a nature. Everything could be anything dependent on who the hell is looking, and it's not a choice. It's forced upon you. Computer or pee-pee pad, which is it? If you're a cat, it ain't computer. Yeah? For real, not it's a computer that became a pee-pee pad. From a cat eye and bladder, this is only a pee-pee pad. It never was a computer. Yeah, and we are wrong because there's more cats than humans. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's true, but you get the idea, right? If that's true, then there is no nature here. This is empty of being pee-pee pad, empty of being the way we think it is. That's all emptiness means. And that is hard because it's so simple. That is hard for us because, no, we're sure it's a computer. Even when I'm telling you this, no, it's a computer. No, it's a pee-pee pad, for real. If you were a cat, this would only be pee-pee pad. That's the emptiness of this object. This object ain't computer. Yeah, but we made it and called it a computer. That doesn't make it a computer. The coming together of these parts, looking like this, ain't computer. So that then you can go deep and study that for a long time, and all the studies on emptiness would lead you to that fact, the fact that this thing could be anything and it's dependent on the bastard looking. Yeah. Now, who put pee-pee pad in my consciousness versus computer? Because it's not a choice. I can't choose right now. I mean, I could choose to be a pee-pee pad, but I'd be thinking I'm being on a computer, right? So I can't force the perception of pee-pee pad to appear like the conception of computer to appear. So it's not like a choice. Oh, I'm going to think flowers and the world will be okay. No, I'm going to be bang on the crystal and see. No, it doesn't work like that. It's a crystal. You're banging on a crystal. Yeah. You can change the reality, obviously, because for some it's pee-pee pad and for some it's computer. It can't be both. Therefore, it's neither. But it is computer and it is pee-pee pad for those that see it that way. So then you get really interested on, wait a minute, if that's true, if this is only this for real for me, based on something in me, this projection of something in me, then what is it and who the hell put it there? What is it that makes this and not that, and who put it there? And that's the study of karma. And then you're going to study, and we've been studying this for 6 years now, and you get really interested in saying, is there any text, is there anywhere in the Buddhist teaching, in this whole Eastern philosophical system that says, is there a correlation between what we do, say, and think, the recording part of karma, and the projection part of karma. Is there any list or anything like that that says, if you do this, then that? If cause, then effect. Yeah, and that we're going to study that today. Yeah, we're gonna present that list today. This correlation between action and reaction as presented by Buddha. That's one of the things. And then we'll end on the highest projection of a reality you can have, the one that will get your ass out of suffering, which is how to find a teacher. What is it about teacher that makes a whole thing, and why is that important? But before we get there, I have to rush through a bunch of questions that we don't have time for. We good? So we began last week by talking about the difference between planting seeds or doing actions where your mind records what you do, say, or think, and that's called a mental imprint or a karma, yeah? And that seed takes root in your consciousness, and as it takes root, it duplicates and gets bigger. Like every seed, it grows over time and produces big results. That plant was tiny like that if you roll back time. If you pulled it out of the ground when it was that would never have happened. And if the resulting experience of I'm suffering right now, or my arm fell off, or I met somebody I loved, or my mind just said I'm depressed, or my mind said I'm happy, if all arising things are like that, cause effect, and we find what was the seed that created that result, then we can change our reality for real. If reality was not like this, yeah, like empty, you couldn't change your world. You'd be stuck with the world you're in. Do you follow that? Yeah. If things were not empty of having a nature, if there were really computer, this could never be pee-pee pad. The cat would come up to it and the bladder would shut down and go, I cannot pee on that computer. Yeah, I better start typing. Because computer is emanating from this item. Yeah, and that is not the case. That's so obvious. Yeah. And in fact, thinking it's only computer is the cause of war. It's the cause of why we disagree with others and want to punch them in the face. And in punching others in the face because they disagree about computer, we just planted some seeds, some causes that must have results similar to the cause. Which means if I just punch somebody in the face and was aggressive and hurt, I must, after planting that seed, experience the fruit of that seed over time. But by the time that happens, I've forgotten I punched somebody in the face. I was just walking down Manhattan, minding my own business, and for no reason at all, someone punched me in the face. What the? So I better punch them back. And then the never-ending samsaric cycle. Woo. Vows is a way to, once you understand that your action and reaction are the place where you transform samsara, suffering world, to nirvana, an enlightened experience of world, instead of pee-pee pad computer beyond, yeah. You get really interested about what are the seeds I should plant, and vows are a way to more powerfully have those seeds fertilize and give results quicker. So it's like, I can be nice to everybody, but if I promise to be nice to everybody, my whole consciousness, the attention around it is like so much stronger, and therefore the result will be so much stronger. Make sense? Vow versus just being nice. So vows are an opportunity for us to go, let's pick just the right actions, bring hyper attention on it by making a personal promise, a vow, and then those actions that I do or choose not to do will have a very much more powerful result than if I was just living life without thinking too much about it. We got that so far? That's summary from last class. So then once we understand that, we want to make sure, well, how do we not lose these vows? How do we not lose the mental imprints, the inertia of I'm just creating an enlightened world? Yeah, we want to first of all figure out how not to do it. And this list will look funny, and I hope you laugh. No, it's not that funny. What? Give me some way. If the world is empty and everything is your actions, your karmas, yeah, and they're growing in your consciousness, producing your reality, vows make some powerful little karmas, right, that will produce powerful realities. And that is also an imprint just to get you all heady. Yeah, that is also a perception that you are thinking is happening, and that's what makes it happen. What would be some ways to lose those vows or those powerful guarding energies around actions?
Not knowing what they are.
Not knowing what they are might be one of them. Why?
Because you think you're practicing the vow, but in fact you're not.
So if you don't know what they are, you might not know how to keep them, and therefore they break. Yeah. So breaking the vow might be one. Okay. Something else?
You don't really need it.
You don't mean it. You're planting something else. Okay. Let's see. I like this game. It's bingo. I've got 5 answers up here. I want to know who's going to get at least 1 so far. 0. Yeah. It doesn't mean that's not true, by the way. Just this is a list.
You can choose to give them back.
Yeah, you can choose, right? Like someone gave you a banana, you're taking care of the banana. You say, have the banana back. Right, good. Bingo, you get what? Okay, banana back is the thing. So you can choose to give it back. There's a ritual to return the vows formally to the person that gave you the vow. There's a whole ceremony in the cultural context, etc. But think about this, okay? If you buy into the idea, which I'm not saying you have to investigate it, that things don't have a nature, emptiness, and you buy into the idea that karma, mental imprints, are the thing projecting my reality, because this could be a PP pad, but for some lucky reason, I'm seeing computer, which is better than PP pad, yeah? So I want to keep computer instead of PP pad, PP pad, right? I want to at least keep those karmas projecting rather than PP pad. And if I can do something better, like computer that doesn't need a Mac upgrade, yeah, that would be a nicer karma, right? It really would, yeah. Then I want to know what seats, and if I can do that, then I'd want something that doesn't even need me to type, you know, some other thing. If I want to know how not to lose that, so if I know that that's the way that I get things done, that I get my reality to manifest, my question for this one is, why the hell would you give them back? If at some point you thought this system is going to get you out of a suffering experience, the only way I can think of giving them back is if you got the result of some karma and you thought self-existently, that's going to make me happy, right? Until I die, when you're dead. Yeah, so it's weird for me. Some worldly thing has lured you out of saying, this isn't working, this planting good seeds in my consciousness. So I'm going to give that back, and now I'm going to drink vodka, or I'm going to paint paintings, or whatever. Anyway, so one way you can lose it is give it back. What's another one? Pratimoksha vows.
Yeah.
You could die, yeah, and move on, because they're lost at death. So there's something about these are lifetime vows. So when the lifetime is finished, the vows are finished. I'm going to quickly.
Not believing, like decided. Is it like formally deciding that you don't believe in the system of permanent emptiness?
The first one.
That's the thing.
I don't know why the first one. No, the second
I'm
one.
saying is one of the answers.
Oh, I see. We can have a look.
Okay.
Maybe, but we have to go through 2 weird sections first.
Oh.
Okay, here it is. You can grow another sex organ different to the one you currently have.
Wait, like gender reassignment, or like you suddenly grow?
You suddenly grow another
Okay,
part.
thank you.
Oh, that wasn't there before. Now,
Wait.
what I find fascinating about this is that this is written in not just one place, in ancient India 2,500 years ago. And these are mostly for monks or nuns' vows. So initially, when I learned this idea, I'm like, oh, she was a nun, wanted to get into the monastery, they dropped the robes by mistake, and now they discovered she's not a monk, right? But it's not. It's saying you have both genders.
Could it be if you like?
And if you need to know more about it, you have to take ACI 9. Next. Changing genders more than 3 times. You can have 1 gender reassignment surgery, but you cannot have 3 in ancient India 2,500 years ago. So you would lose your vows if you grew another part, or you would lose your vows if you swapped parts more than 3 times. I know, it sounds bizarre to us, right? What the hell does it mean? 3 or more, yeah. What does it mean?
It means
So there's something about gender is a projection of your mind, right? People get, apparently these things occurred.
or if you go to a different realm.
It occurred, no, you're still human, you're here, being human.
Is it just that there would be such a implicit fundamental change to your subtle body?
Yeah.
That you would have to take the vows again. So it's not like you're bad because you're gender
Correct,
changed.
correct.
Yeah.
That's so
You have to
good.
take the vows
So-
with this
Because you're
new
changing your
energy.
The male-female balance of your body is shifting so radically, and we get to learn that more in the secret systems, or you can take a yoga class with Rose Aaron or anyone else at 3 Jewels, or you can take a yoga teacher training to know about the subtle body, which we're not allowed to teach you in Buddhist class, but apparently we can in yoga class. Whatever. But there is something about the shift in your subtle body and those energies and the refocusing of your mental attention based on that. Yeah. So it's not that you're bad and you can't do it. You might retake your vows. Cool. And last one is you lose your root of virtue. This was such a powerful thing. You got to think imprints in your mind that are projecting your reality. You can divide into some of my reality is awesome, then we get good, then we get neutral. Some of my reality is up and down, more on the down, and some of my reality is pretty negative and terrible, right? So the root of virtue, or the collection of virtue, is the collection of all the mental seeds that will lead you to enlightenment. All those acts of kindness and wisdom, love and wisdom that you've done towards others are in your consciousness right now, getting ready to turn your body and your mind into an enlightened body and mind. So it's nothing but a mental construct that forces you to see enlightenment versus computer, yeah? So their seeds are there, now you're building them up. There's a part of your mind already building these. And the more you understand wisdom, which is the understanding of emptiness, and method, which is all about taking care of others, because if you plant those seeds towards everybody, you must be forced to perceive everybody in the likeness to which you planted those seeds. Sorry, I'm giving you so many concepts. Yeah. That collection of seeds that are going to force you to perceive this body no longer as a broken body, and this mind no longer as an up and down mind. There's stuff that can break that. Those seeds must give a result, right? But there's something that can break that result. And what is that? Did I put it up there? Damn it. Yeah, I did. Good. You can't see it. Good. Is it hard to read?
No.
Oh, so you can read it. Okay.
Oh, anger.
Anger towards a bodhisattva, or wrong view. And I hated when I learned this at the beginning in Buddhist thought. I'm like, you think you're right, so I must have wrong view. And it's not what they mean, okay? That's a really childish way of looking at it. What's wrong view?
Not believing in karma.
Why is it not believing in karma? Don't tell me that, you sound Catholic. Or Jewish, doesn't it?
Not understanding where your reality comes from.
You tell me in a practical way that will make sense to me. Not believing in, that's the right answer. Not believing in karma and past and future lives, okay, is the main example of wrong view. There's others, but that's the main example. Not believing in karma and not believing in past and future lives. What does that mean?
It means that you don't think that whatever you think or say or do is gonna affect your outside world or have any effect on you.
Wrong view, meaning I don't believe in past and future lives, means I don't believe that my actions must give me a result. I think that if I can say F you and punch you down the road, I will not get a result equal to that. I think it's okay, and even if I'm doing it from the darkness of my own room, sort of trolling everybody online and going, F you, even if nobody sees me, I'm saved from the consequences of my actions. That's not believing in past and future lives or the laws of karma.
And that way you don't believe in cause and effect.
Correct. Yeah?
And that's
And then why would that prevent you from becoming enlightened?
because you want to do the things that will make you
Absolutely. If you don't understand that connection, things don't have a nature. And the way I am forced to have the nature is based on what I do day after day after day, and that is growing, beginning to force my reality to change. If I don't believe in that, I'm not going to be called upon doing the actions that will require me to have that result.
Right.
Yeah? And that's a better explanation than saying you don't believe in us, you know, which is what the thing says. It's correct. That's what the text says. And I'm not allowed to touch the text. I just have to explain it. Yeah. So there are things we can do to cut the root of virtue, and we don't want to do that. There are seeds in you right now. There are mental imprints in you right now that are multiplying, that have had an altruistic intention and genuine love for everyone. They're growing in you right now. You want more of those. There are seeds inside your mind right now that are growing, that understand that the world is more than I'm being forced to perceive. The light stuff coming in through my eyeballs is way more than what my eyeball is telling me. That the goings on in this room is much more than just what we're experiencing. Knowing that there is another nature in here is the beginning of understanding ultimate nature. Yeah? And those seeds have to grow and multiply. And you can destroy them by a moment of anger towards a bodhisattva, which is very interesting, being genuinely upset and angry at a being who has that capacity to help you free yourself, or just not thinking cause and effect will have a result for you. So then there's another list that comes in the text that are the benefits of taking and keeping or practicing these vows. There's two. What would you say are the benefits of taking vows and having this idea of I'm going to try and keep these key promises to see if my world changes, as an experiment or as a, depending on your level of understanding.
Is it always hearing Dharma in your world?
You always hear wisdom and someone will always guide you, maybe? No.
If you believe in past and future lives, it would benefit your future life.
I'll tell you. If you do this system long enough, if you practice long enough, if you're practicing the idea of things don't have a nature, emptiness, yeah? And the actions I do, these vows I'm keeping to do the right actions that will force me to see an enlightened self rather than a broken self. Just the fact that you're thinking that way cuts away at a lower rebirth or a lower experience of being than human. So you're sort of guaranteeing yourself that after this body dies, after this body goes away, that your consciousness has enough seed in there to not see this as PP pad. You will always see computer or above. Does that make sense? You will always hear language you will always hear sounds in language or above. Yeah. You will always think that there are other beings that you can communicate with intellectually and verbally and so on, or above. So you're guaranteed that as the continuum of your mind goes on, you've got enough wisdom in there and enough seeds that you can't go back to the lower realms, which we studied before, right? So that's another story if you don't know about lower realms. The other one is you can attain the 3 enlightenments. Everyone, how many enlightenments can you have?
3.
Apparently 3. Right, so I listed them there for you. Nirvana, Nirvana, and Buddhahood.
How is that 3?
How is that 3? That is 3. Nirvana, 1. Nirvana, 2. And Buddhahood, 3.
But what's the difference between the first Nirvana and the second?
The first one is at the beginning, the one's in the middle. And then there's Buddhahood. If you've been to the ACI, I'm teasing you, if you've been to ACI 9, the Asian Classics, I'm teasing you. What are the 3 enlightenments?
Like Parinirvana.
No.
Nirvana without
No.
saying.
No. Come on.
According to different schools, right?
No. Oh, sort of. Now, I gave you a hint by putting Nirvana, Nirvana, and Buddhahood. What's Buddhahood a result of? Which vehicle?
Mahayana.
Mahayana. What's Nirvana a result of? Which vehicle?
Yeah.
Which 2 types of Buddhas are there in Hinayana?
The self-made.
Self-made.
Self-made Buddhas and listeners. Good. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you don't need to, okay? Nirvana, Buddhahood is enough, okay?
So it's self-made.
You would have had to take a 10-week course to know that differentiation, and frankly, just know that there is one, right? That interpretation of the word enlightenment, to wake up, to Buddha, has a different understanding. We have a different understanding depending on different schools of Buddhist thought that developed. And Buddha taught all three views. Okay? So he taught different ways of interpreting what's enlightenment. He taught two vehicles to get there, three actually, but two that we can talk about. Yeah, Hinayana, Mahayana, and then you have Vajrayana. But these two are the ones we're talking about here. And one of them leads you to nirvana, which is a permanent cessation of your mind having any afflictions at all. You can create the courses for the projections of your mind to not have a single crappy experience of yourself or others. Everything is bliss. You just look at another person's eyes and you're like, so beautiful. Even if they're having a shitty time in their own, even if they're having a shitty time in their own mind, which is not my mind, yeah? I can see them and go, oh, how lovely, she's so beautiful, yeah? And see it as a truth. And I can also see how she's seeing herself as not beautiful or not having an awesome time. And even though she's wrong and suffering, she'll get over it because I can see what's happening next. Yeah, and so I'm at peace. I'm at peace. Peace, another word for nirvana. And then Buddhahood, which is that with much more awareness. Anyway, benefits of vows, know that. You can get to nirvana or Buddhahood, or after enough understanding and practicing of these vows, these promises you make, you've really broken the root of having to have a lesser world projection than human or Buddha. Good? Questions? Silence? Okay. I need to tell you this before I tell you that. So, because this is Shinto Kokyo. Remember what Shinto Kokyo meant? Very hidden. So there are three realities: Nungyur, which is obvious reality, the stuff you can see. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. What can you see here? Yeah, mala, beads. Yeah, and I disagree with you. I said, what can you see here? What are your eyes catching here? Maybe I'll say that.
Shapes and colors.
Shapes and colors, right? Some roundedness, etc. That's really all you can see. But that's obvious reality. What your senses get to connect with. You're not seeing malas. Malas is a millisecond after the dark shape and colors came up. Your mind went malas, yet it projected what this is. But in reality, if you investigate it for a second, you're just seeing dark and light. That's all you're seeing. Buddha said it was a mala.
You did.
You did, yeah, just like that. But we believe it, we operate on a computer. That's the way we function. That's okay, but this is Nungyur, very obvious, right? Kokkyur, which is hidden reality, is, do I still have the malas in my hand?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because you're making the noise.
I'm making some noise, but you can see it. That noise means malas in hands? Is that what that noise
In
means?
this case.
Does it?
Yeah.
And
You
then
sure?
You got something else behind you that can make that sound.
Right. So something very quickly in our minds created you were looking at it, so you can't cheat, okay? Something in our minds very naturally and correctly just made some logical conclusions that if this went behind there and now there's that sound, Hector still got the malas in his hands. Correct. Yeah, but that's sort of hidden reality. It wasn't as obvious as direct contact. Your mind had to make some connections. Yeah, and that's logic, the use of logic. Yeah, based on pramana, which is another course on valid perception. You heard something, you saw something. Your mind very quickly created a reality that is a reality. It functions that way for us. We're all good with that? That's Kokkyur. And Shinto Kokkyur. And emptiness, the fact of emptiness is Kokkyur, is hidden reality. We can't tell that this is not computer, that this could be PP pad. Yeah, we have to think through it. We have to use logic to come to the real understanding that this does not have that nature, that this object is empty of being either of those things. We have to use our thinking, right? Which we did to prove it, right? So that's categorized as hidden reality because it's not obvious. Good. Now there is a deeper reality than that, even more deep than the understanding of emptiness, and that's the understanding of karma, how karma works. What are these mental imprints? When I say something, when I do something, when I think something, how is it that that gets imprinted in consciousness? And how does it grow? And how does it multiply, which is your question? And how does it manifest? And why does it manifest now? And so it answers the why, yeah? And that's very hidden. We can only sort of get a sniff hint at it. But to do that, you get to see that at least karma ripens in at least 4 ways. It ripens as what's called a ripened result in the kind of being that you are, and that can be categorized if you do, and anyway, the kind of being that you are. You get a personal, or once you are a being, a personal result that is for you as an individual in a group of humans. Your karmas are ripening in your particular way, right? Who's got karma here for money, having money? Who's got karma? Who's got $1 in, or has had $1 in their life? So we all have karmas for money, right? Money, the value of this stuff isn't inherent in this thing. This is empty of having this thing. If I had 1 million of these and I was in a desert island and I needed water and I had 1 million of these, it ain't so good then. It won't help me like it will help me here. What's creating that difference? It's not in the paper. It's not, who was it? Someone said,
Other people, us.
right, we share these things. Something is forcing us to see that, right? What was the meme? It's like one of the Kardashians is like, the mother's like, you know, money doesn't grow on trees. And then quickly, very quickly, she turns around and goes, yes, it does, it's paper. Anyway.
Adam trees.
Adam trees, that's right. Yes, it does, it's paper. So the fact that we have a money karma is this ripened result. Yeah, we all share the human aspect of what we call money. But your individual relationship with money is your personal karma, right? Who's got a ton of money? Who's got thousands and thousands of dollars pouring into your bank account every week? Who's lying? Yeah. Okay, right, so your personal experience of money and what that means to you, very specific to you. It comes from you. It's not in the dollar, yeah? And then there's a habitual aspect of how karma, how all our actions ripen. You get a taste for it. We get habitual about thinking in a certain way, and that creates more thinking in that way, and that creates more thinking in that way, as well as viewing things in a way, and viewing things in a way, and so on. And then lastly, you get an environmental result. And this, to me, I think is fascinating, and we don't have time, and I wish we did, to really investigate what we Westerners think the relationship between psychology is. Like, when your mom said this to you at the age of 3, it traumatized you so much that now you have this problem and that problem and that problem and that problem, right? And that happened to you when you were 5, and now you're screwed and you're 50, right? And we believe that that's the world we live in because we tend to think there's just one life and there was no cause before that. So that limits us to saying, Mom, you're the source of my problem, yeah? If you weren't a bitch, I'd be a happy person, right? But Buddhism says, not possible, because there's lots of mums who are bitches whose kids were traumatized and then were not traumatized. Can't be the cause of it, right? So then it screws with your mind, but it still answers the question, why was a person that's prone to be traumatized born or around a family that is traumatizing? So it says that the environment we're in is conducive to our personal karmas that we have in us. If the whole thing is a projection, you are also projecting your mom, your family, the country you live in, and so on. And therefore, the environment, the habit, your personal experience, and the general experience come together. And that's why it's hidden and difficult to understand. But I need you to understand that because I'm going to later on ask you to try and remember both the consistent or personal result and the environmental result of some key karmas. Yeah.
In number 1, you put rebirth hell is praja animal. Can you explain why you put that under ripened result?
Yeah, I did that. I explained that last week. When you do the 10 non-virtues, which is the list of the top 10 screwy things we can do, in a lower result, in a medium capacity, or in a super strong capacity, you will be forced to perceive yourself as either a very suffering, a medium suffering, or
I see.
does that explain it? Yeah. Although it's probably not in the right order. Oh no, it is. That's just for the low.
Thank you.
Okay, questions so far? You all seem silent. I'm not sure it's because I'm talking too much or not funny anymore. Still funny.
With regards to the environmental result, so I feel like something that might contribute is that we've discovered that trauma is actually genetically transferred.
Interesting. Yeah. So how do you explain that with karma and emptiness? Let's say in a relative world, which is the world where our minds catch data and we call things things, in that world, we are also experiencing genes as a reality that we operate under and forced to experience. Why would that be consistent to environmental results? Our understanding of how the body becomes. Because emptiness doesn't mean you don't have a body. It doesn't mean there's no cause and effect, there's no genes. It doesn't mean that. On the contrary, it says if you find a thing, there's causes behind it that are deeper than physical. Yeah. So what would the correlation be between environmental result and discovering that our genes in our family carry certain traits for us?
That would be past karma, past lives, rebirth, past life.
Yeah, so why was I born in a family that had this genetic issue and not that genetic issue?
And also when
Yeah,
those genes come to manifest or they stay
exactly, so that could be your personal based on your environmental. Very cool. So now there's this list of the top 10 seeds. Who knows this list? Yeah? I'm going to give you this list in reverse. Well, sort of in reverse. I'm getting it to you in the right order, but I'm not going to give you the list. I'm going to give you the problem as a personal, consistent result. If we were to have the result of a certain karma, it would look like this. So I'm going to give you a problem that is usually personal. And then I'm going to give you a problem that is usually environmental. A perception of my world is like this, personal. My experience of the world is like this, personal ripening. And the world I live in is sort of like this, environmental ripening. I'm going to give you those stories, and you get to tell me which of the 10, or what would cause that kind of perception. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah.
You're weird. Yeah, thanks.
Can I just like that a little less, but I'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. Here we go. As a personal result, if you had a short life, you got sick a lot, and you had lots of moments with little energy, and in your environment, in the place around you, you had little food, medicine didn't work, or it had little effect, there was lots of disease, people died around you early, what would be the seed in your mind that would create that? So not taking care of life, right? So if you didn't see how, if you want to fix getting sick often, we're going to look at what could be the cause of that. What could be the seed that forced your perception of that? Since that is empty, there is no sick often because I didn't drink 26 liters of water, I drank 22 liters of water, and now I'm sick. That's not possible. Because there are people that drink 22 liters. I'm sure they all die if they drink 22 liters of water at once. But you know what I'm saying, right? It's difficult in the current way we view the world. You cannot prove cause and effect. An aspirin will not remove headache. Therefore, aspirin does not remove headache. Does aspirin remove headache? Yes. Does it remove headache all the time? No. Therefore, does aspirin remove headache?
Sometimes.
No.
So it can't, it doesn't. If it's sometimes, is aspirin the cause of headache gone? It cannot be. If something is the cause, it must necessarily always yield the result. If it doesn't necessarily always yield the result, it ain't the cause. That's what cause means.
So that would be the real cause versus...
Correct, the apparent cause versus the real cause. But I'm trying to screw with your minds to go, what? I like aspirin. Yeah. So if that's true, we're going to find real causes rather than relative causes why we are sick, why we have little energy, why the environment around us, people are getting sick and dying. right? And obviously the answer is you're not taking care of life. It comes down as a yucky list of 10 commandments, but it's not the point. Stop killing. That is not the point. The point is, if you understand that squishing a being to death is an imprint you just put in your mind, and that must grow and give you a result. The being that got squashed to death is having its result. Yeah? And you're watching yourself creating that. And because karma or seeds or mental imprints are not immediate, I plant the seed and here is the banana tree full of bananas. It doesn't happen instantaneously. Yeah? Because things take time to grow, that seed will take root and take time to grow before it yields its result. And before you get your killing bananas, a long time will have passed. So the moment you just squish that being to death and you watched it, record it, were aware of it and know it, that camera in your mind that put the seed, that begins the process of it growing. If karma was instantaneous, if cause and effect happened at the same time, as you're squishing that being and your ribs began to squeeze, you'd let go. Instantly you would let go. If you began to put a knife in somebody's side and your side began to, you would pull out the thing. And so we would be moral, right? We would behave in accordance to the world we want to have if karma didn't have time problems. Yeah? If banana trees could appear at the millisecond you put the banana seeds down, not that there's banana seeds. Is it?
No.
Yeah, it's the little brown things.
Is that the little brown thing at the bottom? That you're always spitting out of, yeah?
No, they're inside the banana.
That's not how banana tree produces. It's produced by the roots. The rhizomes bring up the
So Hector's been using the wrong example about seeds.
stem.
Yeah. Do you have a question? Can I? You sure? It's gonna be like this until the end. Sorry. So now I'm gonna give you this. Not enough means like you don't have enough around you. You're often struggling. You're forced. The property you have, the little property you have, you're forced to share it with others. Food is scarce. Crops rarely work.
It's New York City.
It's New York City. What would be the cause of that? Yeah, stinginess, taking other people's stuff, stealing. Yeah. And the obvious antidote or the opposite seed would be protect others' property. Think of the awesomeness of other people thinking they own shit. They don't, right? So the fact that they think they do and how hard they work, they wasted all their life in some stupid office to buy a gold watch. Let them keep the gold watch. Don't steal it from them. Yeah. Make sure they enjoy their gold watch. It's going to go away later. Okay. So then I'm going to do more. People around you are unreliable. This is interesting. Unreliable. You have, whenever you get a partner, someone's got their eye on them. They want to hang out with them. The streets stink. That is New York City in the summer. Yeah. You can't avoid bad smells. I've got this one. And unpleasant and distasteful things around you. You know what I mean? Sexual misconduct. Yeah. So I see, I don't want you to think about it as these are the thou shalt rules. Okay. I want you to think about it as what is it in us that we've begun to think is acceptable. And this is one of these differences between the China culture, for example, that I was talking about, and ours because of Facebook, Instagram, or whatever nominal reasons are. If you see a couple, sorry, I'm making you a couple, yeah? And they love each other, stop. And they love each other, and he's hot, right? Look, he's got the cult hat and everything, right? And I know that they're together. What do I think I'm doing by trying to say, hey, or just having a nice imagining? Like, what am I thinking of her? I'm not, right? I'm just like completely disregarding the possible bliss that someone is having with someone else. I'm like, you don't count. I'm hot for him, baby. Right? Like, I think that's whatever people say. Sorry, that's out of the 70s. Oh, no, it sounded like, what's his name? Austin Powers. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. But you see what I'm saying? It's not like it's wrong to look at beautiful people. It's not that. Yeah? It's just that that will lead into a habit of me thinking it's okay and thinking it's okay, and then I'm just going to edge closer, and then one day I'm just going to step next to them, and then one day I'm going to touch them, and then one day I'm going to kiss them, and then one day I'm going to try and create a situation where we, and then cause effect, cause effect, cause effect. The habit of it will just force me to eventually plant a strong enough seed that must force me to see the opposite happening to me. And then and because it takes time to grow, I don't understand why I just got the hottest boyfriend there is and everybody wants them. Yeah? Because you can get the hottest boyfriend you want, and you can have the seeds of everybody wanting them, and you can also have the seeds of loyalty. And they will come from specific correlations. And if you view the world this way and you practice it and you see the cause and effect, if you plant enough, I'm going to use apple seeds because apparently bananas don't reproduce with seeds, right? If you plant enough apple seeds, over time you must get the apple trees. And then you're still bored and waiting. This is one problem for you practitioners that have been doing this for over 5 years. This is a problem in karma. You're going to see the sprout come up, you're going to see the tree come up, you're going to see the possibility of the seeds you planted, but you ain't getting no fruit. Sometimes apple trees, like banana trees, take years to reproduce. Like an avocado takes, is it 4 or 8 years before it fruits?
Like 13 years.
Like it's a long time, right, for an avocado to actually bear fruit. But the tree appeared, the possibility of it appeared, so don't get confused that, oh, okay, I've learned these things. 6 months later, I need all my results. It's a long time. It was a stupid fruit. Okay, let's do some more. Is there up there? No one believes you, even if you're telling the truth. Others deceive you. Cooperation fails always. That you're trying to make things work with other people. Who's got this problem? You try and work things out, we're going to make it work, and then, yeah. What's the cause of that? What's the antidote?
Dishonest.
I know. See how karma is delayed? That she was giving us an example. Yeah. Unreliable characters around you, people are always fighting around you. You can't keep friends. Who's got this problem? In terms of the environment, if you look at that list, it's literally the environment. What would cause that?
Divisive talk.
Yeah, trying to split people up will force you to perceive people around you are staying around. Let's go place. Next, unpleasant sounds, fighting around you, lots of noise, bad music, things are harsh to your ears. Yeah, harsh words, good. So I want to clarify harsh words. Traditionally, you're not to say swearing words like Hector says on the question, right? Because people will perceive them harshly. But if you're with your best friend and you say nasty things to each other and think it's funny, that's not harsh words if the other person is going, oh, you're so funny, because you just said disgusting things. Yeah, so long as there aren't old ladies hanging around who are going, ooh. Yeah. So it's not harsh. There's no self-existence in, like, if you get a chance to look at Osho's
Oh my god.
yeah? No, not the Wild Wild Country. If you, the fuck video, right? He talks about the emptiness of fuck. Yeah.
Was he really?
Yeah. Just type up.
Brilliant. Phenomenal show.
Yeah. And you'll see the emptiness of the word, the sound fuck, right? To be honest, when I moved to Australia as an Argentinian, the first word I said in school was that word because the guy next to me told me that meant I want to learn, but I don't know how. And he told me to say, excuse me, miss, fuck off. Yeah, so that was my first sentence in an English classroom. I swear, and I'm thinking, my mental picture is, oh, I want to learn, but I don't know English, and the sounds are miss, fuck off. Yeah, and all the Aussie kids, the blonde kids, and like with surfboards, they were just rolling around laughing. I'm completely confused as to what's going on because I said it right, or did I say it wrong? Should I say it again? You know, la 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 la. But there's proof that those sounds, those syllables together, don't have a nature inside them, like pee-pee pad or computer. There ain't anything existent in those collections of sounds to force the perception of whatever your perception is of fuck. And the same is for harsh words, yeah? But we have to gauge that once I learned fuck in an English country, then I know that that would be offensive to teachers. Once I know that, once I have that understanding, and then I say it, then it's harsh words, yeah? That first time, what karma did I plant? I said fuck in the classroom.
Karma of laughter.
Let's investigate, because if you understand that, if you begin to understand that, you got
the fruits ripened of you being, I lost the word, but not being proper in another context, so that you got ridiculed, etc. In this context, deceived.
Right. So you should have asked me, how did I feel about it, right? So and your assumption is correct. How was that moment, that realization arising for me? Those few minutes where words came out of my mouth, fuck, yeah, and then thinking it's something, and then seeing it as something else, and then 3 minutes later, clicking, the ball dropping, going, oh, complete undoing of reality. I did something terrible. No, you're not my friend. I'm going to punch you in the face later, but now I'll be nice to the teacher. You've got to think, what did that do to my consciousness? Because what did the word fuck do in my mind that day? What seed did it plant?
I think the first.
When you said it, your intention was good.
The moment I said it, that got planted. What seed is that?
But no, the keeping having a teacher. It's a
Device
different seed.
itself.
No, it's a different.
No.
You need to understand. You really need to understand that.
He had
I don't speak English. I'm in a room. My intention is
Desire to learn.
to learn.
Desire to learn English.
absolutely right. Desire to learn another world. Fuck, imprinted in my mind, created not anything to do with the word. It was just the sounds.
Not to insult the teacher.
Yeah, for the conception of being nice to teachers, not insulting them, learning another system, and it had all these nuances.
Before you spoke it.
No, as I spoke it.
No, I think that you had all those intentions before you spoke.
As I spoke it, I had
After
it.
you spoke it, you learned there was a whole other
But this
result.
is what I'm saying. What karma gets imprinted in my mind as I say it? That one, the intention. That's 90% of the karma. That grew in my mind. Now, millisecond after, what ripened? Did it ripen from what I just planted?
No.
It can't have. I intended, I want to learn. What came up? Embarrassment, shame, confusion,
Betrayal.
deep confusion, anger. Yeah?
Maybe guilt.
Alien.
No guilt. I was so confused, right? Was that a result of that moment? No. You cannot have an apple tree a millisecond after you put the seed in the ground. Not possible. Where the hell did that come from? Because that was changing. I'm still telling the story, and I'm only 32.
Came from the English kids who came to Argentina. The English kids that you taught to say bad words in Argentina.
Right. Absolutely. No, absolutely. It came from nasty tricks that were pretty awesome, because that was pretty awesome, yeah? For him, not for me, right? And not understanding the real impact of people. I met, like, he was doing a funny on me, yeah, and the teacher and everything. I'm guessing, that's what I'm conceiving of it right now. It was that I planted long before, yeah? Trying to get people tricked, trying to get people to get jolted out of it, which I still plant, by the way, because I think it's an awesome way of learning. And in fact, out of the 4 Buddhist schools, the last one sort of does that. It's called the Prasangika school, and you're supposed to use a sarcastic remark to jolt people out of their self-existent thinking. consequence school or the Prasangika school uses, what's it called? A syllogism? Yeah? Yeah. A sarcastic comment to say, so what color is the sky? Blue. So in the middle of the night, we can sunbathe. Right? You see how that was a sarcastic remark based on her answer. The sky isn't blue all the time. Yeah?
What would that have to do with
At night it's black, right? So in the middle of the night you can sunbathe, makes her have to make the connection of what's that got to do with sunbathing? Where's the sun got to do in the sky? Oh, the sky's blue when the sun is out. Oh, so a prasangika is a sarcastic comment, well intended, like that kid, I'm sure. He was my first teacher, my first prasangika teacher, right? That forced my mind to have a different understanding of the world I was coming in. My intention was to learn another culture. Did I learn how we behave in another culture?
You sure did.
Now I do. Yeah, it sure did. That's how you do it over here. Did you get the prasangika? Yeah. And yes, the sky is blue during the day. Yeah. Let's do some more before we do the big list. No one listens to you, no value in what you say, there's low, lack of confidence, low self-esteem. What would cause that? Things don't work out, nothing flourishes. Yeah, just wasting your time talking about garbage. Yeah, for the sake of talking, just using your precious seeds of. We have this capacity, humans. I don't know if we can. 920 something. Yeah, we have this capacity to really get into an understanding of each other and the world, but we're showing each other memes. Yeah.
I think something that really confuses me is, what if we don't understand? Like, we see like we're seeing things. I don't even know how to say this. Things appear in front of us, and maybe like we perceive them as like a negative karma or something bad, but actually, like, but we don't understand the true reason that makes it. Because, like, I'm sure we've all had like tons of experiences that are really challenging and difficult, but actually, like, they completely transform you as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes in the moment, sometimes years after the moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that question, okay? Because it's another way. Once you begin to get curious about what is this thing karma, something's hindering in my mind, I'm forced to perceive certain things. Fuck doesn't have that nature, yeah? It's a nature now forced on me, and that initial nature forced on me was nice. Millisecond later, that nature was not nice. Shift of world. So which is it? Is fuck nice or not nice? And how do I know? Right? And here you get a little heady, but it's all important. So listen. Listen. I hate it when people say that. It's like, although those of you who are hard of hearing, listen. It is both. Your mind is projecting an experience of a ripening that is negative on otherwise empty data, words or sounds or movements. And it's a bad experience. And I feel bad, and I'm a bad person. Right? Years go past. Something shifts in your mind. You get a realization. You wake up, you see it, same events, same conception. You see it with a different lens, right? Where did that come from? Is it the location you're sitting in? Is it the words that the person before said that forced it? Is it the drink you had the moment before? What is it that made you rethink that experience from a negative, and all of a sudden you see it for, oh my God, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have moved to whatever and changed my life. And it was that moment that made me decide to do all these changes. And now I'm here. Oh my God, that moment was my teacher. That moment was everything. I never saw that before.
It's the emptiness of it.
It's the emptiness of that moment. It's your mind having just another ripening from another karma that shifted your stupid history. history is also not self-existent. Who's had a moment where you've looked back at a moment in time and rethought that whole thing? I thought this was going on and then that went on. Who's had that experience at some point? What really went on? Depending on where you're looking at it from. And can you choose it? Can you choose to say, my punch up with my mom's ex-boyfriend was a really good thing for me? Yeah?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I can try and force it, but I can't force the reality I'm perceiving.
Not at the moment, but you can plant seeds, so someday it will shift.
Correct. If you plant the seeds, at some point you will see the wisdom in everything. I had a horrible and magical relationship with my dad. He was just a crazy bastard, but very powerful person. He thought himself a witch doctor and he liked touching girlfriends up. And he went out with my grandma, went out with my aunt. He was a weirdo, right? He punched up my mom and he was also loving. And he was just, I had a really hard relationship with my dad. And at some point, I realized I have to keep a distance with him and still love him and I'll do all the right things for him. But he was still a bastard, yeah? Even as he became crazier and older. But I tried the best I could to do what I could for him. So I had this distance with that dude called Dad, Vince number one, who was magical and crazy. He dies. I'm there, sad, terrible, short. In meditation, moments after I bring his ashes home, I've got him on my meditation thing, and I'm meditating. I forget I left the ashes there a week later and so on. Who interrupts my meditation? Dad. Yeah. And in that terrible white singlet, you know how the real guys have that white singlet? What's that called in here? You know, it's like an undershirt.
A white
wife beater. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Like, so he's wearing that and it's sort of like in the belly, it's sort of disgusting. And he's sitting in front of me in meditation. And he proceeds to show me moments of my childhood where he asked me about emptiness and he told me things don't have a nature. And he proceeds to show me moments in my childhood where he was planting seeds of wisdom that now have become everything in my life. And in that moment, who was my dad? I'm like, oh my God, you were a bastard, and what a good way to teach me. Thank you. And my entire sensation, experience, conception of thing called dad shifted completely. Did my dad change? What changed?
Yeah.
And who could have planted those seeds? Only me. And is that real, or did I have a psychotic episode?
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yes. Can you explain it? Can I go to a shrink? And he's like, of course, you're grieving. Part of you really loved your dad. Part of you felt guilty for thinking he was a bastard. So of course you're going to come up with a nice story that makes you feel good about yourself and make your dad feel good. That makes sense. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. No problem. Is that really what happened?
probably not.
My mind shifted. No, that could be the genetics of what happened. That could be the psychological process that occurred.
That's one explanation. My explanation is the spiritual explanation, but your father actually did appear.
Right. Yeah, and my father did appear for me. Yeah, and he continued to appear, revealing moments of my childhood where, so he did become this teacher. He would come and like he was sort of an abrupt, loud, magical, annoying individual. I'd be in the perfect meditation in front of my beautiful teacher made of light or whatever. And it's like, hello, everybody, Vince number one. You know, like, I'm in your meditation. Anyway, let's do 3 more. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but bottom line is your mind can change at any time based on the seeds you planted, even change your history. You're always driven by a sense of desire. You can't ever get satisfied. You want more and more and more. What would cause that? Craving. How do you stop that? Coveting, sorry, not craving, coveting. Yeah. When other people get what they want, be happy for them. It's hard enough for people to get what they want. Even if you don't like the smelly, ugly person, and they got the thing they wanted, even if it was the thing you wanted, and they got it. You want to plant the right seeds? Be happy for them. Yeah, but I wanted them. Duh, if you wanted them, you must have thought it'd be good to have. Yeah. And now they have it. It must be good to have for them too. Now, it doesn't take 2 seconds to think through the logic of, if you want an iPhone and I want an iPhone and he gets an iPhone first, why the hell would I go, shit, he got happy, you got everything you wanted? Like, it's stupid. If I want it because it will make me happy, and then I see him getting it, makes him happy. Why would our instinct be, I'm really unhappy about it, I wish it was me. What seeds is that going to create? More of that. Okay, sorry. Driven by anger, can't get help. You always catch yourself hurting others by mistake or being hurt by them. Ill will. Being happy when bad things happen to people. Haha, he didn't get the iPhone. That kind of behavior. So instead of being happy when people don't get what they want, similarly to what I just did, the opposite of that would be empathize. Like, if I was him, I'd be pissed right now. Is there anything I can do to try and relieve that for him? That would be the best seed you could do there. Yeah? He'd be pissed right now. He really wanted an iPhone. I got one first. Okay, put that aside. Do you want to borrow my iPhone? You know, do you want to play with it? Check out these things. And I'm thinking I'm going to help him figure out how to get a cheap one or something. Yeah, empathize and try and help others succeed. And lastly, importantly, your personality is dominated by stupidity. Yeah, you run a government. No. Keep harmful views. Sorry, I try not to keep it political. Sometimes I can't help myself. I apologize for anyone who does not share my karma. Okay. It's not all of us. There's at least one person. You don't see reason, logic, right? You don't see solutions coming up. You don't see wisdom growing. You see the opposite. You see a dumbing down of the world around you.
So cynicism.
Well, not in China.
Right. It's a bizarre thing in China, right? He was not representative of all of China. He's definitely.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nothing geographical or political.
Yeah, yeah. It's not. You say?
I say it's not political or geographic.
What's not?
The fact that both conditions exist in both places, right?
Explain.
You've got Trump-like people in China.
Right. Yeah. It's nothing to do with geography. No. It's shared
Or
karma.
even politics.
Yeah, it's shared seeds. Yeah, absolutely. But what I mean here, if you see that in your world, because people are experiencing the current reality and thinking it's good for them, their karma is ripening. Is it good or is it bad?
Yes.
It's good for them. Yeah. Is that coming from the political issues?
No.
It can't be. It's coming. Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's not the location. It's not. It is something in us as a collective. Yeah. So broader than that, really understanding the nature of ultimate reality, the nature of how things really work, beyond the nominal, getting close and then disappearing. The answer to that is wrong view, misunderstanding cause and effect. We covered this before, right? So not believing that the way that things really work is the way that things work, and not investigating that is the cause of less of that in your world. Okay. And now in 3 minutes, I promise, we'll revisit this. Did I finish that?
Yeah.
That was 10, right?
That was all.
Yep.
So I did a double 10. Did I do a double 10? I did. Da, da, da.
We're not looking at your presentation anymore.
Yes, you are now. Lamrim is a collection of texts that sums up the entire Buddhist path to awakening. There's like 3,500 works in the commentaries and the sutras. Once you get to understand the entire path, all the ideas in the path to liberation, in what you can do to shift your mind. There is specific steps, all outlined in the Lamrim. You will come to these 4 understandings. You'll see 4 qualities in these things, and you'll see that even though words might appear inconsistent, in one sutra, Buddha says, you should kill your mother and father. In another sutra, he says, you should take care of life, right? Apparent inconsistencies. If you understand this view of karma and emptiness, if you practice enough, you will come to a point where you don't see the inconsistencies and you can understand both the interpretive and the literal meaning. At some point, with enough mental seeds, you will see that every teaching, every time you're reading, it strikes you as a personal advice, something specific to you. And some of you might know what that feels like if you've had those moments, but those also are seeds. You'll understand the Buddha's intent, and it will save from the great abyss. And here the great abyss describes is what?
Oh, right. I was gonna say, like, it seems like keeping the vows well actually strengthens your perception of the Lamrim as like more and more perfect.
Yeah, of course.
Like you create the perfection of the text.
Exactly, because the text doesn't have that nature. Absolutely. The great abyss is the mistake in saying, I'm going to apply these teachings, these and not these, and this and not this, and not understand the interconnectedness and why they work, which is the difficult part. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a list of 10. In this system, in the Tibetan Buddhist system, and in the Indian Buddhist system, the guru devotion, the teacher, the lama, is the foundation to the path. The person that you connect with as a personal teacher that wakes that up in you, like my dad did in that meditation. Yeah? Like when you actually meet a teacher, and they don't have to be dressed in robes or whatever, but it's that being that just goes, oh, you just slapped me in the face in a good way or a bad way, it doesn't matter, but you just woke me up. That relationship with that being does not come from that being, does it? Where does it come from? Your seeds. But where are you perceiving it? In there. And through them, what do you get? This entire conception of the world that can show you step by step how to stop all suffering. So they, in fact, become your only living, real connection to a real Buddha, to an awakened being, to a state of nirvana, a state of enlightenment. They are the only connection. Those beings that are that for you, yes, are coming from you, but are real for you. Just like the bus that's about to run you over is your mental projection, as is the road and whatever, but that does not mean it won't hurt when it runs you over. Your mental projections are reality. So just so you're walking around the planet, at some point, there's some problem in your life or some need or some circumstance, and a being appears in your life for a short period of time or a long period of time, and the stuff they say wakes you up in a way that nothing has done before, makes you question reality and gives you a possibility for another world. And if you've been fortunate enough to even taste, smell, or feel the presence of a being like that in your world, real or imagined, then you have the seeds for a teacher. And then the practice, above all practices, is maintaining and growing that relationship so more of that stuff keeps coming. Because it ain't self-existent. It's not coming from that. It is forced upon you by your past deeds. You just used up your credit card. So I'm using my Karma credit card. Hydration. Water is nice. Karmic points. Yeah? I better go give some water if I want more water. That's good, necessary. Oh, I'm going to, I don't know, eat something. Same, karmic points. Every time you have a pleasure, karmic points. Every time you have a good thing, karmic points. Now, they're all different prices. what would the karmic points, what would the karmic price be to have a being appear in your life that might have the elixir to immortality, that might have the answers to every problem you perceive in the entire universe? Just for a second, you believe that to be true. For a second, you have the conception that there is a being that you just met that with 3 weird words woke something up in you, a hope, a wish, a possibility of a perfect world. What does that cost? Karmically.
Everything.
Credit card? Yeah?
Everything.
And you gotta replenish the credit card. You can't keep using a credit card without the IRS coming to get you. It's not how it works. Okay, sorry. So finding a teacher, understanding that your teacher is a projection, but that projection is your only hope to wake up. If you sever that projection, you're screwed, because you'll just be thinking, I've got to get more stuff to be happy. Your mind next appearance is things are okay this way. Oh, people just die, it's okay. That's just what people do. Oh, it's okay, people just get cancer. That's what cancer comes from. Well, it's okay. You're lost in this world of, this is the way it is, and I'm just human. And every analysis will tell you that's not true. And it came from them, her, the teacher, him, the teacher. And for you to keep having those conceptions, you better be planting powerful seeds to keep that conception. And before you take a person like that to be your teacher, to be your guide, you better check them out so they're not some weirdo. Yeah? You better be 100% sure, because you're about to plant the biggest karma of your life. You're about to plant the deepest, most powerful imprint in your mind to have met the pathway to enlightenment, the Buddha for you. You're about to do that. Before you do that, don't go doing it to some crazy person because they're wearing a pink coat. Don't go do it to a crazy person that has beads. Yeah? Don't go do it to a crazy person that uses fancy words. You have to know what these conceptions are for you, and that the answers are there for you, and it's awakening, and you have to get past the fear, and you have to get through the hope, and you have to then decide, I'm going to apply this with that person. I can plant seeds of being nice to people. I can plant seeds to get more money. I can plant seeds to get better health. But the seed of all seeds is the one that gives you all that all the time. So then next week, we're going to do the 10 qualities of a teacher. Not this week, sorry, because I went way over. And that's what you should check out before taking on a teacher. Any questions? Good. There are 10 qualities that you should look for. Once you meet a person that invokes you like this, that wakes you up like that, get suspicious. Know that there's a karma, get suspicious. There's something behind this chemistry, and I want more of it. And now I'm going to check you out. I'm going to test this relationship until I'm so certain, and then we're on. We're on for the real game, the one that gets us to enlightenment. So we'll do that next week. For now, let's dedicate the hell out of that awesome thing that happened here tonight. We had Dr. Wu, we had China and the US come together philosophically in this room in a very powerful way. Mr. Wu teaches probably the top 1% of the wealthiest people in China, and we teach their children about seeds. And if nothing else, these people will have to think about that as they run their industries in the coming decades, and it will be good. Yeah, so let's go.
Sashi Purhi Jushin Metodra Vira Lingshin Indem Padi Sangye Shindu Mithe Guardi Robin Namda Shinla Jiparsho Hidam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami Ewa Digopun Sunam Yeshe Soksokshim Sunam Yeshe Mejumwe Dampar Kuni Toparsho.
Thank you for the blessing of sharing these powerful ideas and for coming tonight, a very special night. I hope that you take it with you and you do something powerful with it. I hope if anything seeped in, that it might appear in your dreams, and I hope it's not my dad.